Whoa, what's up, everybody? How are you doing today? Happy Monday. Make sure the audio is good. Everything's good. Man, my camera's zoomed in a little bit. How do I look? Do I look good? Do I look pretty? Do I look pretty? Nah. Guys, kind of a quiet weekend, which is a little weird. A quiet weekend. We had a post from the president come out this morning. Everyone's waiting to see what's going on. Trump says negotiations happening. Iran says that's just something to calm the markets. Is it true? Is it not true? We're going to break it down. We're going to break over Bitcoin breaking out of the bear flag. We're going to look at Kaspa. We're going to take a look at BitTensor, and we're going to go over and look at stocks. Nothing looks like it's having a rebound except for oil. The one thing we don't want to have a rebound. And then also, Jerome Powell spoke this morning at Harvard. We are going to break down what he said, the problems and fears around private credit, potential interest rate cuts, potential interest rate hikes. We're going to break down it all. But I hope y'all are doing wonderful. As always, if you are joining us over on YouTube, break out that bad hand, put the 4 down, flip it over, and hit that thumbs up. We'll play thumb war. And subscribe. Join the Finance Freeman family. I love spending Monday through Friday with you all. And if you're over on X, please click the little retweet button. That's all you got to do. Just this little thing right here. It helps a lot. Tag a few friends, guys. It means more to me than you know, guys. The thumbs up. What's up, LFG? We're going to have Sonar on the space on the stream this week. I'm excited about that, guys. In fact, where's my notepad? I need to make some notes. I think I need to send a meeting invite out for that. But yeah, that's a really cool platform. We're going to showcase to everyone, guys. So that's cool. Before we get started, I just want to say, as always, I am not a financial advisor. Nothing is ever financial advice. And always do your own research. Look, I almost feel like I got stripped down. See how funny that looks? Looks funny without it, right? But with the overlay, it looks top-notch professional. I think, at least I think. And then shout out to our stream sponsor, Blowfin, guys. If you're looking for a new exchange, you can find one at the link down below. There where I do all my, futures trading. They got stocks, commodities, whatever, but really good stuff. I'll put a little QR code up for anybody that is interested. But let's start out with breaking down the crypto markets from a macro point of view. And then we're going to look at some individual things after we touch on some news. Okay. And so, we've been tracking this pattern essentially ever since we broke out of an identical pattern a little bit ago. We had this move going on right here. We broke out of it, which led us to where we were today. That's when we hit 60K. And we have recently broken out of that. Last week, okay, we broke out of it. We came up here. You can see, guys, funny story. Okay, I told y'all in this stream that if we had a retest, I was going to open up a position, right? And so I did, right when we came up and tagged it, hit it absolutely perfectly. Okay, absolutely perfectly. And we got it. And I kind of got busy over the weekend, kind of didn't think about much and stuff, but I did move my stop loss back up to break even. Well, you could see right here this morning, it closed it out whenever we got that run up, but it was a pretty good trade. I think it was on 10x leverage, so it was like 35% gain at the most. But typically what I would have done, I would have moved my, once we made this low here or this lower high here, I would have moved my stop loss down here. So I would have been in profit. And then when we made this lower high, I would have moved my stop loss to here for profit. When we made this one, I would have moved it here. So if I would have been on my A game and not worried about boiling crawfish and stuff like I was doing this weekend, I would have actually stopped out right here. with the overall profit of around, 0.6 times 10x, 6.5%, something like that. But live and you learn. That's what I get for being sloppy, but I show it all. I show it all. But what I want to show is that we have broken out of this, and that's a bad thing unless you're short. We came up and retested it. We came down. We came up. It looks like we broke out of it. A lot of people maybe took a trade right there. And now it looks like we're breaking back down from it. We were rejected right here at this line of, semi-support and resistance. You can see it was support here. It was support here. It was resistance here. And so it was resistance here. So we have broken out of that right there. And so that's what we're looking at now. We are looking for BTC at least to see a reclaim of that level, right? That's basically what we want to see. And so far, we're not seeing it. So the signs stay lower for now. Let's see. Ready for it to go to 0? 60? Did you mean 60 or 0? You said 0 first. I don't know. I hope it don't go to 0. I don't think it goes to 0. I don't think it goes to 0. But who knows? Who knows? Crypto is a crazy place to be. But you could see everything's kind of in the same, manner right now. Even if we go look at TAO, where's TAO now at? 28. At one point, TAO had passed up Zcash. I think it was sitting at 25. And profit taken, things like that. TAO's down here, not really outperforming Bitcoin right now, kind of just being stagnant over the last week. So we'll break that chart down a little more, but this is what caused me to get stopped out at break even this morning. What's caused oil to drop a little bit. If we come over here and look at oil's at 103. And like I said, this is really the only chart. If you're at work and you're busy and you don't have time to be looking at the charts, trust me, totally understand. Totally get it. I totally get it. Just look at oil. That's all you have to look at. Just go to Google, type in oil price or, Blowfin, CL, whatever, and just look at that every, couple hours. And if oil is up, you can almost bet stocks and crypto are down. And if stocks and crypto are down, then oil is probably up, oil up, crypto down. You get it? Inverse. Okay. So it's a pretty easy way to look at it in the grand scheme of things. So you could see this morning, we got a little sell off, but not too much, right? Oil's holding up pretty strong. If we kind of clear this chart up to try to make it look a little easier, let me see somebody who take TurboTax. I am getting a deferral on my taxes. Stop bugging me. I'll pay you in October. I shouldn't owe anything. I just haven't had time to get everything together because I prepay my taxes quarterly. And even though I didn't last year, but I paid everything that I thought I owed in December. It's why my kids didn't have no Christmas presents. I'm just joking. So basically right now on oil is this level. The next level is here. But with all the conflict going on, we're just in this shock wave, right? This isn't actual necessarily supply and demand pricing. That gets found out. Like if there's a long going oil shortage, once the markets agree, okay, we're going to lose 20% of the daily oil, let's say, for years, then the market will price for real supply and demand economics. But that's why tweets can send this thing down 20%, right? Because it's very perceptive trading, I would say, But one thing you can see, the shorts are piling in. A negative funding rate, that's a pretty heavy negative funding rate too. So shorts are piling in, which makes sense. I mean, you're at a resistant level, right? Like I always talk about my trading, you can put a stop loss somewhere like right here, 104. That's only $1 up, and potential profit on that trade is like going back to pre-conflict pricing. You know what I mean? So it's actually not a bad setup if you're looking at it from a risk reward point of view. But let's get into this post that the president made. The United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. So, first off, if this is true, then that means that there's no regime change being planned, right? Or I guess the current actual person obviously is no longer over it, but that the overall regime, the IRGC, would still be, in control, whatever, right? Okay, great progress has been made, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait, it's funny he said Hormuz Strait, not Strait of Hormuz. It reminds me of when Twitter used to limit characters to 140, and you had to, or whatever it was, and you had to delete words and stuff and try to figure out how to put it in. That's why I was never on X until a couple years ago. That, and I didn't like Jack Dorsey. But anyways, if it's not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran. And so he picked these words very carefully. Okay. And if the strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude, meaning we will end our stay in Iran by hitting up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Kar Island, and possibly desalinization plants, which is not a good thing, right? They don't really have a lot of fresh water there, so that's water treatment and things like that, which is civilian, so hopefully it doesn't get to that. Which we have purposely not touched yet. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has, went after the last 47 years. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So let me know how you perceive this. The markets short-term perceived it as bullish, okay? At least a little bit, right? They're not going down anymore, or say that much. One reason why I'm skeptical on it is that there's just a lot of miscommunication. If you look at, let me come over here and find what I have bookmarked. Guys, did y'all see this? This was funny. Let me see. All right, I know I posted it. Somebody in Iran in the government came out and said, heads up, pre-market so-called news or truth is often just a setup for profit taking. Basically, it's a reverse indicator. Do the opposite. If they pump it, short it. They dump it, go long. See something tomorrow, you know the drill. Well, what we seen was that tweet, right? And it says here that Iran has drafted legislation to create the Hormuz Law, which is expected to create a formal toll system for the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran's trying to say they own this small body of water, and really there's no owner of it. It's like saying somebody owned, water in between, the Pacific Ocean or something. And you can see, for anyone that's not familiar with this, it's this little body of water right here. Okay, that 20% of seaborne oil goes through. I think it's actually about 13% of all oil in the world, but oil that travels through the sea, 20% of it goes to here. And a bulk of that oil goes to China, goes to Europe. I think very little, if any of it, goes to North America. But it's basically this right here. And so they were saying that they wanted to have a fee, a toll system. Well, Marco Rubio already came out, and the president saying that they're not going to let that happen, right? Hormuz Law to introduce fees on navigation and pollution in the Strait of Hormuz. Draft legislation also includes creation of a regional fund. The move is seen as an attempt to formalize long-term tolls on global shipping routes. The U.S. has called these tolls both illegal and unacceptable, right? And so it sounds like a couple things that will affect our bags. And remember, guys, the only reason I cover politics is because it affects our bags. That's the only thing I'm worried about, right? I'm not left, right. I'm not red. I'm not blue. I'm green. I'm green, guys. I care about money. I care about dinero. And so, you know, it just doesn't look like they're really close to a deal, right? And then something else, I'll show you this clip from Fox News, okay? Trump posted this. Imagine somebody posting, hey, go watch this news channel tonight. They're going to talk about something very important, right? So obviously it was already known that this was going to be talked about. And he said, watch Mark Levin interview the brilliant Mark Thyssen tonight at 8 p.m. on Fox News. We'll discuss importance of Iran. Okay. And now let's listen to this.
Troops on the ground. He said no troops on the ground. I don't remember that in any campaign speech either. But why would we need troops on the ground? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and we wouldn't need 300,000 of them. It's this uranium, too. We've got to get the uranium. If it cannot be destroyed, if it cannot be altered, we got to get it. For the reason I just said, you can make dirty bombs.
So you see, basically, it kind of looks like he was like floating that out there to see, okay, how do people react to this, you know? And then you've got people like Lindsey Graham, who is, you know, in favor of, you know, basically he's never seen a war that he didn't like, in my opinion. He's at Disney World. Like, what? And it gets even funnier when, or even weirder, I should say, when you take into consideration that he doesn't have kids. And I don't think he's married. Lindsey Graham, senator, was spotted walking around the Magic Kingdom at Disney World alone while carrying a bubble wand. Put him in a princess outfit. It's just strange, right? So now let's get into some more financial talk. Okay. Jerome Powell was speaking at Harvard. I believe he does this once a year. And he had some comments on inflation. He had some comments on private credit. And I could explain how each of these could potentially affect us and why they should be something that we pay attention to. But let's take a quick listen to this.
And that should stand you in good stead. But there's no denying it's a challenging time to enter the labor market, but it may take some patience and all that. But in the longer term, this economy is going to give you great opportunities, and just be a little optimistic about that. And
so he's acknowledging that the labor market is weakening. Not only do we have AI taking over a lot of jobs, at least white collar jobs, what they like to say, you know, entry level accountant, programmers, coders, that kind of thing. But on the flip side, you know, we also have slowing growth overall for a lot of industries. Even if you look over the last year, if you take out the Mag 7, so if you take out Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, NVIDIA, whatever the other couple are, if you take those out, you know, really the S&P 500 and the QQQ, the NASDAQ, the tech index, is pretty much flattered down. But there is some things I'm looking for, guys. I'm ready. Like y'all know, I've been all cash in my IRA since around November. And so I haven't deployed anything yet, but it's getting close. It's getting close. And so then there's this private credit thing, which is relatively new, private credit, but this is basically non-bank lending, okay? And we've already seen stories of people trying to get their money out of like BlackRock's private credit fund and things like that, and they're kind of halting it. Like these aren't extremely liquid things. And, you know, it's a small portion of the economy or of the overall finance sector, but I'll tell you why that still concerns me here in a second.
It's something that you guys are probably following. It's a relatively small part of a very large asset pool. We're watching it super carefully, as everyone is. We're talking to the people in the industry and investors and everything. I think we understand it. We're monitoring it for looking for things that might lead to greater contagion or greater losses or connections to the banking system. And we're going to do that. You're not going to hear people say, "Oh, there's no problem here," because that's a jinx. But nonetheless, it's something that we're following very carefully.
And so, one reason that this worries me a little bit about the overall economy, private credit, is because it's a small piece overall. However, it's still a lot of money. And it's still a large portion to me. I mean, when I think about it, and the reason you have to think of things like this is if we go back to 2008 and we look at the housing crisis, only about 6% of homes foreclosed at one time, never more than 10%. At one time, 15% of mortgages were considered delinquent, which means they were late, they were behind, but banks didn't want to foreclose on people right away, right? They were having so many of them. They're trying to find ways to work things out. Now, 50% of those foreclosures were what we would consider, subprime credit. Okay. And so when you start looking at subprime credit, you're talking about people that have a bad credit score, people that probably shouldn't be borrowing money, at least that amount of money, right? And then you look at different parts of private credit, or you even currently look at, let's say, car loans. Back during the illness we had a couple years ago, cars were going for, 20,000 over MSRP, like a regular car, like a $40,000 car, $50,000 car. Used cars were going for, a car that should have been $6,000 was going for $12,000. I remember I had an F-150 at the time, pickup truck. It was probably, I should never sold it. I traded in for my Tesla, but I love my Tesla, but I need a truck, honestly. I like to go deer hunting. I like to go fishing and stuff. Maybe it was a midlife crisis thing or third life crisis. Maybe I'm 31. So maybe that's what it was. But I mean, it's a super cool car, but I should have kept my pickup truck. Anyways, I bought it 2 years prior to the illness, and I had 40 or 50,000 miles on it. And when I sold it for $2,000 more than I bought it for. And you might think 2,000, that's not that much. That's a little fluctuation. But you have to think when you buy a new car and then you drive it off the lot, it loses 20%, right? And then you put 50,000 miles on it, and to be able to sell it for $2,000 more than I bought it for, it's kind of interesting. One of the reasons why I went at the Tesla route too is they had a $7,500 tax credit. And so, when you want something in life, you just kind of justify it for yourself, right? Like, oh, like at my old job, they had charging stations. So I was like, okay, I can charge there for free, and I get this this tax credit, so I won't owe taxes. And when really I should have kept my pickup truck. Now I'd probably pay a lot more. What does a F-150 go for nowadays? Nice looking truck. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like a F-250, but golly, they want like 80 grand for them bad boys. Instead of getting a camper trailer, maybe I just stay in hotels everywhere or something. Probably easier anyways. But yeah, so that's the private credit risk. And so now let's move over to stock market. I've been telling y'all since way back here, 6:30 on the Qs, that I thought we were in a rolling top. Ended up to be right. And I'll give y'all a target for the rolling top. Not too far away. Not too far away. 552, 551 on the Qs. You know, I think it's time for me, like this is not financial advice, okay? I think it's time for me to start slowly DCAing into my IRA. Not my trading fund, but my IRA, right? Because I'm 31. I still got 20 something years for this stuff before I can take it out without paying penalty. So the difference between me getting it at 560 or me getting it at 550, or even say we went down to 500, right? I mean, if I DCA into it, even though I'm typically not a DCA kind of guy, I'll try to catch the Pico bottom kind of guy. But that's on a trading point of view. But from an investor point of view, I went all cash in my IRA back here. So I've already saved 12%, you know. So I think if I start DCAing, and, you know, that's on the Qs, that's on a fund, you know. If we come over here and look at something like Tesla, and Tesla could get hit harder. Like Tesla's a big valuation. So like I would wait on individual stocks. I would love to see this for Tesla. Maybe I'll trade it over on Blowfin. But in terms of my IRA, you know, I don't know if this will hit, but, you know, anywhere in this box, you know, but where we are right now, if you look at NVIDIA, I don't think I'm going to touch it. I have reservations about NVIDIA. Not that it's not a great company, not that it's not an extremely profitable company. It's just how long is it going to be an extremely profitable company? You know, it's a hardware company. They sell chips, right? And once these data centers are built out, what's the revenue going to look like? You know, I mean, it's been on a heck of a run. I mean, if you just take a look at this. If we go to October of 2022, during the illness, this thing's up almost 2,000%. Right? I'll show you one that I'm looking at. It's a drone company. And I've seen Anthony Pompliano, who I got right here in this interview. I've seen him talk about it. And I looked it up and I actually liked it. I actually like it. 3.68 billion market cap. It's tagging the 0.5 fib level. I like it. I think the drones, the cheap, you know, like military type drones, I think that's good. One thing that I am very interested in is Meta. In terms of social media, they are doing great. They've got real revenue, but it's still up. It went up an 8x in the last 3 years. And still currently up a 5x, right? So that level would be good. 225, 300. But this is one I could own longish term. You know, I don't think it's like folks like my dad love it, right? They're on Facebook all the time. There's still a lot of people on Facebook. I think as older folks start rotating, I think, you know, maybe there will be new social media, but, you know, they also own Instagram. Do they own WhatsApp? Does Meta own WhatsApp? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if they own WhatsApp. I kind of thought they did. Maybe it's Signal. Maybe they own Signal. They own something. If you know, let me know. But But yeah, let's come over here and break down probably one of my most bullish cryptos right now, BitTensor. And I'm still, guys, we had the short, guys, at the Pico top. It hit 375 and we were in short at 366. I think it was like 10x leverage. That'd be a 200% gain right now. But stop loss was a little too close. Oh well, live and learn. Let's draw the fibs up. 260 would be good. But I just want to look at the overall market. But one thing I am expecting, like even like say the conflict's resolved and everything, I don't think it's going to be just up only. I don't. I don't think it'll be just up only. I think we still need to give back some, you know, and even though this is this target, we almost hit it. You know, if we go back to, let's see, we had a pullback here, 412 to 250. Here was 530 to 400, but that was Liberation Day. So I'm kind of not going to count that because if you just kind of delete that out of the equation, we kind of just went, because I mean, it was very like a nothing burger, right? So if we come down here, you know, yeah, 450 maybe, 400. It just depends how bad. But I'm wondering if BTC is going to bottom before stocks bottom. And a lot of people were thinking, why is Bitcoin falling? Why is Bitcoin falling when stocks are going up? But really, it just is the teller of all. You know, I really feel that it's the most risk on of risk on assets. And because of that, it feels pressure to liquidity before anything else. And I also think that 1010 didn't help at all, you know, obviously. But if we look at, let's come over here. If we look at when this was in October, this high, okay? And if we come over here, take this on the daily, and look at this in October, right? Then it started going down, okay? And if we come over here and look at Bitcoin, it started going down. But Bitcoin never got that next push up. Whereas if we come over here on the Qs, it got a next push up and it double topped. And so I do think it feels liquidity tighter, crypto, Bitcoin, but also there's no denying when we compare these two charts, when historically Bitcoin has always followed the NASDAQ, that something fractured in crypto on October 10th during this liquidation event. Market makers, something, right? And it just needs time to heal. And I think we're healing. I think market makers are healing. I think hopefully we've heard about, you know, the worst of it. Maybe not though. But I do think that if we just look back at the last week, this is the stock market. Like if we go back the last 4 weeks, the stock market erased almost 10%. You know? And we look at crypto over the last 4 weeks, we're flat. Look, 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week, we're flat. If we take a look at that. And so that tells me that there is some strength in Bitcoin. There's some strength in crypto. And I'm thinking that the overall market dynamics are healthy again, or healthier, we should say. Take a look at Ethereum. I can't wait for ETH to have a bigger run. It's a painful chart. You look at it, just years of chopping up, years. Let's go take a look at X. Lindsey Graham was spotted wandering around Disney World alone, holding a girl's magic scepter wand toy. I gotta watch that later. TSA finally gets paid after Trump signs orders. Thankfully. Did y'all see? Did anyone fly during that time? Golly. It looked like people were waiting 6-8 hours for TSA to come through. BlackRock is hiring a managing director of digital assets in New York as it expands its crypto and blockchain effort. That's what I'm saying, guys. We're so early. Blockchain's still hiring. We're just now starting to integrate into traditional finance. I think that the ETFs were a we made it moment for Bitcoin OGs, people that truly bought Bitcoin, let's say sub 500, sub 1,000, people that believed very early on, even sub 5,000. Like I remember when Bitcoin was 3,000. I remember when Bitcoin was under 1,000, but the first time I had the chance to actually buy a full coin, it was 3,000. And I didn't buy a full coin. My buddy did. Good for him. I'm my best friend. But I didn't buy a full one. I was heavy into ETH at that time. That was at the when would that have been? I've got some funny pictures of us, man. Let's see. No, it was before this. Yeah, it might have been like 5,000, like somewhere over here. Might have been like, 5,000-6,000. Like, because I remember it. I remember that we were in the hotel and it was down to like almost $3,000. And we were talking about it. Yeah. 2020. I mean, not too shabby though, right? It's just after that run, it was a little shabby. Going through the 2021 NFT cycle. What's Caroline Levitt saying?
That's underway right now. I'll take a few more. Solon.
Thank you. You listed the described humanitarian reasons for allowing that oil tanker to reach Cuba. Just to clarify, why was the administration okay with Russia sending that oil to Cuba and not other nations?
Look, again, this was a decision. It'll continue to be made on a case-by-case basis for humanitarian reasons or otherwise, but there's been no firm change in our sanctions policy.
President Sheinbaum of Mexico also said that Mexico is exploring different ways to restart some of those shipments to Cuba. Is the administration okay with that at this time?
Again, there's been no change in our sanction policy. We still reserve the right to seize vessels if it's legally applicable.
You're not kidding. I probably had 3,000 to my name. Like I would have had a little more than that in 2020, but still, or when was that? 2018? Did I put 2018? Yeah, man, I was young, like early 20s, married. trying to have kids, trying to party. So yeah, it was sound great now, but you know how it is early on when you're looking and you're you know, it at 13K it drops down to 3K, hard to have conviction, you know. It's what could have been. What could have been. Going back, I would have took out a big old loan and bought, but you know, it's hindsight's always 2020, right? Let's see. Didn't look like she was talking about nothing too important. They were talking about sending oil to Cuba, which Trump this weekend said Cuba's next. So, which that one wouldn't really shock markets, I don't think, right? Because it doesn't have anything to do with oil. I mean, lack of oil. Let's say that. Iran's parliament approves bill to impose fees on Hormuz Strait. Pentagon must create maximum optionality for Trump. Like these pages, like Zero Hedge, like good page, like for news. But there's a few of these pages that all they do is in bold caps just tweet all day. Let's watch this.
This remains a truly once-in-a-generation opportunity for the regime to make a good deal with the United States, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and stop acting as the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. If the Iranians reject this golden opportunity, the greatest military in the history of the world continues to stand by to provide President Trump with every option available to ensure this regime continues to pay a grave price. One way or another, Iran will no longer have the credible ability to threaten the United States or our allies, which is, of course, the overall objective and mission the president set out when he launched Operation Epic Fury.
Dang it, guys. I always mute gets me. I need to integrate mute to my stream deck right here so I can just click the unmute button. I don't have to click it. So my apologies about that. I know you were all typing, Freeman, you're on mute. So I appreciate it. Yeah, people are longing Circle here. But, you know, Circle, y'all know we were talking about it back here at 55, 56 bucks. I was in Circle at 60 bucks. I sold half my Circle at 2x or like 100%. So I doubled my money essentially, and I took my initials out. And so I own something like 300 shares, I think, for essentially for free now. But this had a very quick run up. And what freaked it out was the news that the Clarity Act would not allow yield for stable coins through mediums such as Coinbase. And I'm not so sure that's a really big deal for Circle. You know, even before that happened, Circle had some amazing gains. You know, if we come over here and take a look at these earnings. Revenue 770 million, net income 130 million. You know, 22 billion market cap company. It was like 10 or 11 billion when we were talking about it. But the assets that they control is just going up, 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 up. You know, if we look at USDC, it's got a 77 bill market cap. And so look at this. This is actually kind of a good sign for crypto. If you take a look at this, we dropped that line there. This is stable coins. Double top on stable coins. Boop. That'd be nice, because that means it's being deployed into either leaving the crypto ecosystem, which we wouldn't want. But most of the time when you see like USDT or stable coins go down, it's getting deployed into crypto assets. But, you know, if you just look at the adoption that Circle has had, this is a year and a half. They've grown their AUM, assets under management, by at least 128%. Right? And so I could see this being a crazy type of market cap one day, especially if stable coins become very prevalent. And one day this is, you know, 2 trillion in stable coins. $1 trillion in stable coins. Like, who says this couldn't be a $2,000 stock? Gosh, I would love to get a lower low. If it goes lower, golly, that'd be crazy. If it ever got to IPO price, which was $31, it was $31 or $32. $31. Instantly started trading at 69. And so if we look at June 2025, when it peaked out at $300 after IPO, you know, most of the time you see something IPO, like, let's clean this up. This is why I'm bullish on Circle. Most of the time you see something IPO, like say it IPO'd at $300 and you just see it go straight down. But that's not what happened here. Here it IPO'd at $31 right here, before it was even on TradingView. And it ran up like 5x. And so it did that. It hit its peak in June of 2025. And if we come over here and we look at market capitalization in June of 2025, they had 60 billion in assets. And it went up 30% in that time. However, in that same amount of time, the stock is down 70%. So the stock's down 70%. Assets under management is up 30%. Revenue in Q3, they made 215 million. Last quarter, they made 133 million. We'll find out what they make this time. But they've got like a 20% revenue, net margin of income. They're a very profitable company. I love Circle. I love Circle. It's a blessing that this thing didn't run straight back up to 300 and go past it. What are the odds of the Clarity Act passing? So it's been as low as a 39% chance and as high as an 82% chance on Polymarket. Currently a 49% chance. So yeah, Circle's one of my favorite stocks. And it's pretty cool how now with futures and perpetuals, you can just trade them like this, depending on where you're at. But it was a 97 that sold off to, yeah, this is one. There's always a bull market somewhere, guys. You just have to find it, right? Whether that was metals, whether certain stocks are going down and oil's going up, but the bull run for Circle is going to be massive when it comes. But yeah, guys, this is what all eyes are on right now for the overall crypto market. And even though Circle really has nothing to do with crypto, I mean, it's a stable coin, right? So yeah, it's crypto, but it's, you know, it could be arguments that it performs better in bear markets because people stable up. They switch their crypto into stable coins, right? But it still gets dragged down because it's still lumped in with cryptocurrency. But pretty soon, I think Circle is going to be a large medium of exchange throughout the world for US dollars. And there's no sign of the US dollar really losing strength if we come over here. It lost some strength a little while ago. High oil prices is pushing it up even more. And you can see this chart almost looks exactly like the oil chart. You see how we're up here at a resistance. But this is what sent gold flying, was the dollar going down 13%. And I actually have a tweet that said gold will top when the Dixie bottoms, the DXY, the US dollar index. And so, like I said, the oil in the world is traded with US dollars. And so the more expensive oil is, the more dollars people need to buy that oil. And that's what is putting the strength in the US dollar. So ironically, even though everyone's freaking out about oil prices, it's actually kind of bullish for the US dollar dominance.
That are headed towards Cuba and that violate the United States.
But yeah, basically all eyes on this. It's a pretty bearish one-day candle. If we're being honest, you see how empty it is. It wicked up here to 68.2. It came all the way down. Let's see how it closes. But not the most bullish candle in the world. If we go to the 3-day, it don't look too much better. So yeah, guys, just go on your chart and touch this bottom line and have it like that. And until we break above this bear flag, it's a bear flag. And keep in mind that it has a technical target of anywhere between, put that one there, and then we'll do the shorter option. Has a target anywhere between there and there. Let's change that one to orange. So you can see the white one stops at 44K and 41K. So 41 to 45K is the technical target for that bear flag. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, to keep you updated with everything going on with Trump, with Iran. We're going to keep you updated with oil, what's going on with stocks, and what's going on with crypto. Anything finance, we cover it here. If you're not subscribed over on YouTube, please subscribe over on YouTube. Even if you're on X, go over to YouTube and click subscribe, please. It means a lot, and click the like button. Also, if you're over on X, subscribe, join the Finance Freeman family. We've been growing pretty good on X, up over 2,000 followers in the last month and a half. So I've been very, very happy with that. And if you're ever not able to catch a stream, you can watch it pre-recorded, but we also post clips of all the best, parts of the stream if you're ever not able to catch it. But I absolutely love spending the day with you guys. So we will be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I love you all.